So hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today we're going to take a look at a status build for the newly unvaulted Boar Prime. So it's a pretty simple 3 Forma build, and what you're going to do with that Forma is just add 3 Vs. Now the mods I'm using are Prime Point Blank, which just adds a truck ton of damage. This is a no-brainer really. If you don't have the primed version, just use the regular one, it doesn't really matter, although you're not going to have as much damage. Hell's Chamber for more multi-shot, but more importantly more status chance. Seeking Fury to add that 1.2 meters of punch through. This is really good because it helps you spread around those status procs and it helps you deal with groups of enemies easier, and it also bumps down the ridiculous reload time a little bit. Then personally I'm using shotgun ammo mutation because this weapon isn't very ammo efficient and I really don't like running out of ammo with it. But if you don't like running ammo mutation and you're fine with ammo, you can easily swap it out for Blaze, which is gonna add a ton of damage to the weapon. However, as I've said already, if you're not using ammo mutation, it's really easy to run out of ammo with this weapon. Now, to get 100% status chance with this weapon, you need all 4 dual stat mods and Hell's Chamber. Because if you're only using 3 dual stat mods, your status chance is only going to be 98.2%. For any other weapon, this is totally fine, it's more than enough status chance, but for a shotgun, it's not, because status on shotguns is calculated differently, and if you don't have 100% status chance, you're not going to proc status very often. Now on this setup I have Shell Shock and Scattering Inferno for radiation damage and Toxic Barrage with Frigid Blast for viral damage, and I use this setup versus the Grenier, the Corpus, and if I'm running 4 corrosive projections in the Void. And the reasoning behind this is very simple. Versus the Grenier, the toughest units like Bombards, Napalms, Elite Lancers have alloy armor which takes increased damage from radiation, and underneath all that armor is Flesh which takes a lot of damage from viral, and on top of that when you proc radiation you're gonna confuse the enemy, and when you proc viral you're gonna reduce their health by 50%. The same goes for the Corrupted if you strip away their armor with corrosive projection, and I also run this versus the Corpus because we don't need magnetic damage to take care of the shields because this weapon has a lot of impact damage, and once you strip away the shields all you have left is Flesh which is going to be taken out by viral damage, and finally they have robotic units like Moas, Bursas and Ospreys, and those take increased damage from radiation, so this setup kinda covers the whole faction. Config B is the one I use versus the Infested and the non-corrosive projection Void, which has Shell Shock and Toxic Barrage for corrosive damage and Frigid Blast with Scattering Inferno for blast. Overall, this is the less damaging setup because of blast damage, which is not effective against too many things, but it has more crowd control, and basically turns Boar Prime into a knockdown cannon. So the first clip I recorded here is with config A. This is the radiation viral setup, and I'm running today's sortie, which is a level 50 excavation mission. It does a decent amount of damage, and it would be better if I were running Blaze because it would add a lot of raw damage and a lot of fire damage, but it's okay, although there is one problem, and that's the lower tiered Grenier, especially heavy gunners, because they have ferrite armor which is weak to corrosive damage, which is something that we don't have on this setup. But there is a very easy way to take care of them, and that's simply shoot them, proc radiation and viral on them, and let the other units kill them. So overall, I'm very happy with this setup. It's going to take you through the entire solar system and the Void, and you're going to be able to kill the enemies very easily. And once the enemies start going up in levels and they have a lot of health, a lot of shields, the status chance will take over, and you will basically just shower the enemies with confusion from radiation, and you will strip off their health with viral and let them kill each other. The second clip is in the Void without corrosive projection, so I'm running config B, which is the corrosive blast combo, and this is a lot of fun to run because you have a ton of pellets with Boar Prime, especially with Hell's Chamber, so every time you shoot an enemy you will have multiple corrosive procs which strips away armor really fast, and you also have the blast damage which either knocks enemies down or just sends them flying. And this is extremely useful because you can run into a room that's filled to the brim with bombards and you just start showering them with blast and impact procs and they can't do anything. So just like with config A, in non-endless missions it does more than enough damage to get you through them, and once you start doing endless stuff, the status procs will take over. I'm a big fan of status-based shotguns. They're absolutely amazing because if you have a little bit of luck on your side, with one pull of the trigger, you can make the enemy bleed with a slash proc, reduce their damage by 30% with a puncture proc, stagger them with an impact proc, confuse them with a radiation proc, and reduce their health by 50% with a viral proc. There are very few weapons that can do that with one pull of the trigger. So I would definitely recommend you try this build out. It's not too expensive, it's only 3 Forma for what is essentially an endgame build, and it's also really fun. And that's basically it for the video, so I thank you very much for watching as always, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.